You're listening to Graphic Novel Explorers Club podcast, an audio book club.
Thanks for checking out today's episode of Graphic Novel Explorers Club. I'm one of your hosts, Johnny, joined by
Robert Berry,
our special guest, and Dennis, who had to leave before we could record his name. So today we are discussing The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller. We hope you've already read today's title because all three of us have read the book, so beware, spoilers ahead. We would love for you to share your opinion and thoughts with us. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at GN Explorers Club. Leave a comment on our Facebook page or email us at, that's right, gnexplorersclub@gmail.com. Graphic Novel Explorers Club is available on iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever podcasts are available. Well, we're here today with comedian Robert Berry.
Hey.
And Dennis.
Yeah, just me. As usual, I'm not a comedian. I like to think I am.
No, neither one of us are comedians. But
it looks so easy.
Yeah, you guys make it look so easy.
I watched Saturday Night Live. I've seen a few Netflix specials. I can pretty much do that.
Yeah, I've been listening.
Just watch a couple and you're set.
I've been watching comedy specials since I was a kid. So
yeah,
and was a big fan. But in addition to being a comedian, you also created Retro Crush. And that's been around for a long time now,
About
hasn't
17 years
Damn.
now. Yeah.
Wow.
Not updated as much as it should, but in theory, supposed to bring it back this year. So
in theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to, I don't even know how I stumbled onto Retro Crush, but I was in Spokane at the time. This was like 2002. And I think I discovered your website and Cockeyed.
Yeah, still going as well.
Yeah,
nice.
Around the same time. I was like, oh, these are Sacramento guys.
Rob
anyways,
Cockerham.
Yeah, Rob Cockerham. I've tried to get him on my other podcast so many times, and he's just not having it.
Wow.
Not having it. But well, you picked out today's book that we're going to review, which is...
It's Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. It's about Batman.
Yeah,
What?
returning.
Yeah.
I thought it was about Superman, which is really weird.
1986. Yeah, I had a bunch of ideas, and I looked at your episodes that you recorded to date, and I'm like, how could no one's done this one yet? That's kind of unbelievable. So I'd love to be the one who could talk about this great comic.
We've kind of hit two of the iconic books. We did The Killing Joke, and then Gotham by Gaslight.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was torn between this and The Watchmen, which came out the same year. That was a banner year for graphic novels. But I don't know, Watchmen seems like that could be a 4-hour show to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah. We're like, I don't know if we'll ever be able to do The Watchmen because it's so dense. Not just in length, but just so much stuff is going on in it.
And that was back when, I mean, you wouldn't, when Watchmen came out, you wouldn't have called it a graphic novel. It was what the limited series is what was kind of thrown out there. And I think even technically, The Dark Knight, as it was released, was a limited series, but it's been collected as a graphic novel since then, and people
multiple times in different formats.
These books that came out in the 80s are the comic book equivalent of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and that they were so iconic, and they shifted the storytelling within that world so much that ever since then they're just like, oh, we've always got to try and one up or repeat some of the the stuff that just like was so shocking at the time.
Yeah, I mean, but what was neat about when The Dark Knight Returns came out, you hear always that like Batman always had sort of a silly reputation, and I mean, he's gone through a lot of incarnations. I mean, when he first came out, he certainly wasn't silly. I mean, he had a gun and killed people in some of the early issues. And then in the 50s, it got really weird, like aliens and magic stuff and
purple suits and pink suits.
Yeah. It was just more fantastic stories. And, then the 60s sort of just took the same tone as the TV show. And then Neil Adams, and Denny O'Neil had a turn on it for a while. And that got Batman serious again.
This would have been mid-70s, right?
Yeah.
That's when the blue and gray suit.
Yeah,
came
and
out.
Ra's al Ghul and some really good Joker stories and some other stuff. And
Yeah, I was going to say there's definitely some great Joker stories from the 70s.
yeah, but then it just seemed like in the 80s, Batman just wasn't cool.
Mm-hmm.
The cool kids were reading X-Men and the Wolverine and limited series, and
They try to make him cool with teens. If you remember Batman and the Outsiders, so they kind of they attached him to other teams.
yeah, I mean, he just was one of those staple characters, and both
Mhm.
Batman and Superman at the time were just kind of coasting on
Mhm.
reputation more than. And so, I mean, this was one of the first, I guess, different looks at a character that really threw things upside down and
for
got
sure.
a lot of attention and a really different and unique take of Batman as sort of a grizzled, dirty, hairy type version.
Yeah, you never
of
thought
Batman.
of him as being like future Batman. Like, what's he gonna be like when he's an old man?
Yeah, and to DC's credit, I mean, it took them. This series came out and it was extremely well received, but they never they left it alone for decades. I mean, about 20 years. They never tried to redo Dark Knight stuff or
Mm-hmm.
bring characters from the Dark Knight into the
Like Carrie,
yeah. I mean, just it was they
the car, not the or-
Yeah. But I mean,
that would be Christine. I'm sorry.
you see DC's obviously throwing all that stuff out the window by bringing Watchmen stuff into their
For sure.
continuity.
And nowadays, it just feels like
Carrie's in the books
a
now.
grab, like just a desperate grab to like, hey, you guys like this stuff? Come on, check out this.
Yeah. But this was something. I remember a friend of mine at school told me about it. He knew about comic stuff before I did. Like he had all the upcoming news magazines.
Oh, yeah.
And it was before the internet, so
Yeah.
weird information like that was kind of hard to come by. And
Like Fangora magazine.
yeah,
exactly.
Starlog, yeah.
Yeah,
Sci-fi or
Starlog.
something, yeah.
I remember they had one called Comic Scene that was by the same people that made Starlog and Fangoria. And in the back of it, it would show you like upcoming projects and had all these little blurbs
Mhm.
about movies in development, and about 90% of them would never happen. Like someone just like,
Yeah.
a Submariner movie's coming out.
Right.
Or, things like that. But
They'll never make a Submariner movie.
Yeah, and I don't know if this was one of the first, but talking about a limited series and seeing an older Batman, we talked about Elseworlds and stuff, and we've also talked about in the past how one of the problems with comics is it's limited nature because they don't want to alter the characters too much, right? They're almost stunted. Batman is always pretty much 35 or something like that forever.
right.
And this is one of the things where it kind of breaks the mold, where we're going to go into a future where potentially people can die, potentially
Oh, yeah.
other characters are dead, relationships are destroyed.
Yeah.
And so that's what makes it really unique. And I remember getting this comic as a kid and being totally blown away because I was reading the 80s Batman comics and I was into Super Friends, and that, and that was my exposure kind of. And in the old school, like Scooby-Doo meets Batman, I was totally into 1966 Batman. And so for this hard take, and I didn't know who Frank Miller was at the time. And I was like, wow, this is like really kind of freaking. And even to see Batman hold a gun, which turns out not to be really a gun, but to hold a rifle was like mind-blowing. I was like, I'd never seen Batman hold a gun like that before. So
Yeah, you don't know what he's. Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
With the rifle. So, well, this book is broken down into, or the graphic novel is broken into 4 books or chapters.
Right.
Book 1, The Dark Knight Returns, which deals with the return of Batman and Two-Face. Book 2 is The Dark Knight Triumphant, which is dealing with this mutant gang that is taking over Gotham.
Yeah.
And then book 3 is The Hunt for the Dark Knight, where a new commissioner, which we'll get into more detail about this, new commissioner comes into town, and the Joker is sort of reborn too.
Yeah.
And the commissioner wants to chase down Batman, wants to arrest Batman.
The
And
new
book,
commissioner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then book 4 is The Dark Knight Falls, which is the infamous Superman battle that was horribly done in Superman v Batman, semicolon, whatever the rest of that title.
Right.
Horribly done.
Yeah, I would argue that.
I don't know. I thought that was the one of the few good parts of the movie, but we'll talk about that when
Martha.
Well, that wasn't in the book. Thank God.
Yeah. No, it was done beautifully in this book.
Yes.
Not so done well, but anyways, so the book kind of starts off with just news recaps, and there's a lot of news. You could tell Frank Miller was kind of ahead of his.
Yeah, you get this narrative style in book one it became almost a cliche later, but I mean it's just all these like little tiny panels of TV talking heads talking on top of each other. This montage of media assault, which really was not how TV was at the time. And you look at how the TV and internet and everything is now, it's like a little bit prophetic in some ways, but
and I thought it was a good device too. Looking at some of the late 70s, early 80s comics, sometimes they had little exposition boxes, but this was a good element of doing the exposition, but making it in world. So it wasn't this bodiless voice that was kind of explaining the scene. It was kind
like
of
the
TV.
editor,
right?
Gentle reader,
See episode or issue number 3 for reference.
Right.
Yeah, and it was a really good way of getting you up to speed on this world. Like a good way to, you're like, oh, we're in a different time. This is
10 years after Batman is retired.
Yeah. Or was last seen.
Yeah.
So there's speculation amongst everybody. Did he die? There's crooks that will say, oh no, Rudy killed him, and Rudy lies a lot, and or people think he just disappeared or retired.
Yeah. I mean, you're introduced at, you see Bruce Wayne, bored millionaire, racing a car,
which seems to be owned by
crashes. And
who's Green Lantern's girlfriend?
Carol Ferris.
Yeah, right.
It's like a test vehicle for the Ferris company.
Right.
Yeah, and then you see him drinking with Commissioner Gordon, and then
who apparently knows his identity.
Yeah. They're cool. Yeah, and there's this great panel of just Bruce walking down the street in his suit, and a guy's holding a sign up that says "We're damned," and just it's a world of shit, a world without Batman. And as things are falling apart in the narrative of book one, you just see, he's questioning, why did I give it up? Why did I stop doing this? And he's just had enough, as many vigilante movies begin. It's got a very 70s, early 80s vigilante movie tone,
but in some ways
in a fascist way almost. Which you learn later from Frank Miller that was probably pretty true to his core beliefs.
I think something you could see on the page, his worldviews shifting towards this like really harsh Frank Miller that we know today.
Is this prior to Sin City?
Oh yes, way prior.
I think Sin City was 90s, right?
Okay.
For sure, mid 90s, early 90s,
But there was a lot of you could see on the title pages and the new books each beginning, he was starting to develop that Sin City black and white, really wrinkly, texturalized black and white two-tone color scheme.
Side note, they did release, I don't know what year it was, but I happened to look when I was looking for the book. They released what they called, of course, they released like millions of special editions, but they released Batman Noir, Dark Knight Returns. Yeah. So basically, they remove all the color, and it's only black and white drawings. So they decolorized it, which is kind of like trying to make it Sin City-ish.
Yeah, I'm sure that was put out around the time the first Sin City movie came out. And they're like, oh, we got to ride this wave. So you're reintroduced to all of the Batman characters that were, Batman. You brought up to date that the most recent Robin and Batman haven't spoke in about 10 years also, or 15 years or so.
Oh yeah, Dick Grayson and him have some trouble.
Yeah, there's something happened, and
it mentions Jason, which Jason Todd was killed in Death in the Family storyline by this time, I think.
No.
Is this prior?
At this point, Jason Todd didn't exist.
Oh, so they just say Jason?
It was just a coincidental. Wow, I thought at
That's
this point
weird.
If I recall, I mean, because like that's why.
I thought that he died like in 84 or 85.
Well, it was right around the same time, so it would have been interesting if they basically predicted his death.
That Death in the Family stuff came after The Dark Knight.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure it did.
Huh.
Yeah,
Maybe he knew
because that
ahead
was
of
when
time.
Batman's cool again, and they're doing more
Right.
things. And I think Jim Starlin wrote that.
Okay.
now that I think about it, but it was.
So they just mentioned a Jason who dies.
That's why some people thought, like, oh, did they have to kill him off because Frank Miller, you know,
Right.
threw that reference of him
but that
being
was just
dead in there.
coincidental because you had to do the phone in thing and he barely.
Right.
Yeah.
So
For the listener,
maybe I'm wrong.
Jason Todd was killed and it was left up to the readers. So there was a 1-800 number and you had to call. And I guess he just barely. There was.
I'm pretty sure it was rigged.
I have a Batman book at home, collecting Batman or something like that, and it has the page they would have used if Robin had lived. And it's
Oh.
corny as hell. It's basically like Batman's going through the records and he holds up his bodies. He's alive.
It's the same drawing. It's just the word bubbles
Right.
changed.
But yeah,
So, yeah.
what's interesting too is you don't see an obvious villain at this point. Two-Face has been his face has been reconstructed.
Yeah, you catch it. You're caught up to speed. He's an older man too, and
Arkham looks like it's a nicer place.
it's a retirement home.
Right. So you almost
Yeah.
feel like, Batman's not needed. It looks like he fixed everything.
Except you see when he's walking around, it's Frank Miller at this time was living in New York.
Mhm.
It was just coming out of that shithole New York from the 70s and early 80s.
Yeah, Giuliani cleaning it up.
Yeah, so I'm sure that had some influence on the way he was picturing Gotham. So it's not like perfect,
Right.
and then you slowly are introduced to gangs like the mutants.
Right.
They're starting to make appearances. But yeah, so Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, has been cleared by psychologists, and he's had plastic surgery to fix his body, and he's thankful, and he's like, I'm gonna go on the path, the clean and safe path. I've been reformed. Thank you.
Bruce Wayne believes in him,
Yeah.
which is what they harvested for the Dark Knight trilogy movies. I
Mhm.
believe in Harvey Dent.
Oh
But
yeah.
Gordon is like, no, I'm pretty sure he's
Yeah,
still
which you
good.
would have thought it was reverse. Like
Right.
the paranoid Batman that we know of today, he would have
Mhm.
been. It would have been.
Well, what I like about that is because sometimes that gets glossed over in a lot of the other media, cartoons or what have you. But there was a tight relationship. Well, in the movie you could see that, but Harvey Dent and Bruce Wayne were good friends. So he had a vested interest for his friend to be better. That they were
be
kind of
rehabilitated.
Yeah, they were good associates in the movies, and in the cartoons they kind of just forget that they were even friends at all. But definitely in the comics they had a really tight relationship, and in many ways, sometimes I think Batman blames himself for Harvey Dent's disfigurement.
That's it.
That's it. That was the whole book.
But I just clarified, Jason Todd did exist 3 years before Dark Knight came out. He was in the books as a new Robin. However, he wasn't killed until
After this was
3 years
published.
after this was published. So it
Really?
was, it was a hint that they kind of ran with there as a thing.
See, I didn't start reading comic books till I was in my 20s. Is that me?
Oh, that sounds cool.
Sorry, our submarine has just
Yeah,
been
sorry, guys.
intercepted.
The bellows are releasing. We're going deep. Dive.
We have to move our location.
Yeah, the Reds are onto us.
But yeah, the Two-Face thing's interesting in there too, because you have, the split dual nature of Two-Face is always something that defines him,
Mhm.
and he gets the plastic surgery,
Mhm.
and basically at the end of that part of the story, you see that he's 100% full disfigured. Like he's
Yeah,
really
well-
just, there's no two sides to him. He's pure.
Yeah, even though he's
Bad.
cosmetically, he looks like
Yeah.
Harvey Dent. When we're skipping to the end of this book.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. I feel like things are set up in this book for the rest of the story.
Yeah. Right.
You're reintroduced to Batman. You see what looks like maybe the Joker. It's like a cleaned up guy with slicked back or not slicked back, but he's kind of got like combed back.
He doesn't look crazy.
Yeah, he doesn't look like typical Joker. He just looks like a dude
Well, he's catatonic, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's people talking around him. Even in book 1, there's like a hint of him, and he's just like stone faced.
Right.
And and you learn why later. But,
So crimes are starting to be committed that fit Two-Face's profile. Batman basically beats up a criminal, chases him down because the lawyer for the criminal that was beat up by Batman is like, you guys say there was guns and stuff, but Batman could have planted that stuff. We don't know. So I guess we should say, so Batman keeps seeing more and more crimes happening. He gets fed up and decides to reemerge.
Yeah.
Right.
And Bruce Wayne is trying to fight it. It seems like he's trying to kind of fight it. He's taking showers and doing
That's how I fight my image. To
doing
fight
other
crime,
things to
That's a very 80s thing to do.
yeah.
Rub one out in the shower
Yeah.
instead of beat up a criminal.
Yeah.
And he finally gives in. Batman reemerges. People are starting to say, "Oh, there's been Batman sightings. It's on the news." And this was lifted in The Dark Knight Rises, where the cop and the rookie cop are driving, and he's like, he's like, just sit back, kid. Watch. This is gonna be a great show.
You're in for a treat,
Yeah,
kid.
you're in for a treat, kid. So he reemerges, tackles this criminal. Criminal gets released, but Batman follows him back to his house, back to his hideout, which is split into two. It's like dirty on one side, clean on the other. Tries to get the guy beats the guy up, tries to get information on him, but Batman realizes, oh, Two-Face knew I was going to follow you, so cuts out. Then he has, I don't know how he got this information. I don't remember exactly, but he finds out there's going to be a heist, like a payroll heist, with 2 helicopters, which gives it away. This is where you see the rifle,
Right. Old school kind of bolt action.
a bolt action rifle for like safari hunting. And the first time you read this, you're like, oh man, what's he gonna do with this thing?
Yeah.
And he turns out he's just using it as like a
grapple gun.
Yeah, basically.
He looks hella cool though. That's some good art in that scene.
And he's got the bandolero in his
that's what I was saying.
which was like kind of I was like, oh, that's kind of cool to see Batman. He's more like Soldier of Fortune looking here. Turns out there's a bomb on one of the helicopters, so he defuses it. Actually, there's 2 bombs on each, or there's a bomb on each helicopter. He defuses one, realizes like, oh shit, I got the wrong helicopter. I need to go to the other side, which was neat. He like runs across a tightrope that he shot out of the gun, which is kind of neat. And he says a really cool thing about, well, if I'm gonna die, this is gonna be a good way to die. Like it was kind of
No, that's great.
Yeah.
And you see how creaky and old and out of shape he is right away. Like he jumps on a car and slumps over it as it's it's like whoa. And then he's like, there's a great panel where he's climbing up this rope, and he says, "Old enough to need my legs to climb the rope." Yeah,
that was kind of cool. I was like, when I was younger, I just pulled myself up by my arms.
No, it's totally the Lethal Weapon. Like, I'm too old for this shit. But in some ways, it's like where he wants to just make it to retirement in Lethal Weapon. He's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna die.
Yeah. There was several times in the story where he kind of resigned himself to dying and was okay.
This is how they're gonna get me.
Yeah,
and and this is also the first time you start to see him be really mean and scary to the criminals. Where it became sort of a cliche in the movies later,
or like, present day run.
Who am I? Or Batman? But I mean, like there's a great scene where he's like just roughing up a guy in an alley, and with the cop scene like that you're talking about there, and he's just like,
Did Year One come out before this?
No, after.
After, because he roughs up some people in
Year One. That's Frank Miller's thing.
No, but I would say Frank Miller's take. As you read this, you're like, oh yeah, that's Batman. But that wasn't necessarily Batman at the time.
Yeah.
And now that is.
Now
it's in his DNA for the movies, for the cartoons. everything.
Yeah.
Like there's a scene where he says, "You'll stay scared, won't you, punk?" And the guy's just like, "Jesus, sweet Jesus!" Like he's he's
Pissing
scaring
himself,
the hell
yeah.
out of somebody. It's just it's great.
So he gets to Two-Face, and
We doesn't know it's Two-Face. It's a guy in like mummy masks, like bandages, which is actually, isn't that how Hush kind of looks like?
Yeah,
later
that's what
on.
Hush looks
Oh
like.
yeah.
Right, so they later use that look, but anyway, yeah.
Come to find out, it is Two-Face.
Right.
But he's still his normal self. He looks
Right.
like the plastic surgery had fixed everything. But when Batman closes his eyes, he can hear that Harvey Dent no longer exists. It's Two-Face.
Right. And Two-Face, I mean, Harvey Dent doesn't exist in his own eyes. He thinks that they're mocking him and that they actually just made both sides ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So that kind of wraps up book 1. Book 2 is Dark Knight Triumphant, and this is where you're introduced to the mutants who you see have spread through Gotham City like a cancer. There's one big giant mutant who's he's not like a X-Men mutant. He's just been like disfigured, and he's got giant nipples, and
Right.
he sharpened his teeth into fangs. And
Yeah, and he looks like he's about almost 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
He's just he's a monster.
he looks like part pig, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
for
almost
sure.
looks like something from Fury Road,
Yeah,
like some
definitely.
Road Warrior bad guy.
At
or
this
something,
point,
you
I
know?
thought just mutant was just kind of a term until you see him. It's like, oh, he is actually kind of a mutant.
Yeah, because his gang and Frank Miller created almost a gang terminology, a la Clockwork Orange,
Mm-hmm.
where they say, "Do you shiv?"
Slice and dice.
Slice and dice. Yeah, there's a couple of different sayings in this that oh, okay, he created a little in-world dialogue, or words for the gang.
And they were some of the first scary-looking punk rock kind of characters. I mean, that was another cliche in the '80s. Is like,
Oh, yeah.
punk rock bad guys, like 3 dudes with pink mohawks and
Right.
and a nose ring and a gun. And like, whoa, that's sinister. And now they're just
Like Escape from New York.
right,
There's some
right. And it's like
cheesy
no, they're
punks in
just
that.
dudes
Or
that
Terminator.
work at Hot Topic,
Yeah.
But no, these like guys looked like truly like, oh damn, they're really scary looking.
I like how you got on bulk sale their sunglasses, like Cyclops visors.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was a fashion that didn't hold up.
They all went to the state fair,
yeah.
or the county fair, the Gotham County Fair, where they were selling those. Just by
They're
the
like,
bag.
I like to get all your X-Men Cyclops visors, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Jim, you start to find out Jim Gordon's he's being forced to retire basically,
Mhm.
but he keeps saying, "Well, I can stick around to solve this mutant issue," and
Yeah.
basically seems like you get to see a little bit of politics too, where the mayor and an advisor are like, people really like Jim Gordon. It's gonna be hard to get rid of him.
Right.
What are we gonna do? So you kind of start to see the politicking behind the scenes on how they manage the public's views of both Batman and Jim Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
Which, skipping ahead, the mayor is killed by the mutant. He decides, the mutant gang leader, he decides he wants to go meet after he's been captured, and doesn't end well for him. But anyways, so you get to see the mutant is like a silhouetted figure on the TV screen throughout this kind of somewhat book 1, but a lot through book 2.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
He's saying, "This is my town. The mutants own it. Jim Gordon, I will kill him. I will feast on his bones in front of his women and make them cry." It's almost like the Lamentations of the Women.
Right. Totally.
And then now that Batman's back, now he starts talking about he'll also kill Batman 2. We're introduced to Carrie Kelly,
Mm-hmm.
who seems to have some very absentee parents, or they're doing drugs or whatever.
Sure, that's a recipe for success
Yeah.
in the DC universe.
Oh yeah, for sure.
She's just sneaking out the window at night.
Right.
A couple different times they're like, "Don't we have a kid?" And
In a gang-ridden town.
yeah, and she's you're kind of, when Batman starts showing up again, her and her friend are cutting through like an arcade, which in the future they don't exist anymore. us being people of the future.
Right.
Arcades don't exist. And these two gang members are about to basically rape her and her friend. And Batman shows up and beats the shit out of these guys. See, and this is the thing that I was like, how did she deduce? Did she just start like, just gonna go up on rooftops and hopefully run into Batman?
Kinda. It sounded like she was just basically inspired.
She buys a Robin costume.
Yeah.
So she's conscientious of who Robin was.
The lore. Yeah.
Yeah. And,
You know,
and they still make Robin costumes.
Yeah.
Remember that kid that died? If you want to dress up as him.
Yeah. Not Batman, but Robin.
Yeah, but Robin. Everyone likes the short green bikini briefs and the red top and the yellow cape.
And then, no, she didn't have sunglasses. She just had regular glasses. I was going to say she kind of...
green wrap
I thought
yeah, kind of gargoyle. She had the Yoko green visor glasses.
I was going to say she stole it from Jubilee, but I don't... They're all taking stuff from the X-Men, like toy store.
So basically the mutant challenges...
Oh, this is amazing.
Batman to a fight. He shows up, and this was definitely lifted in the Dark Knight series.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's two fights.
Yeah, well, I'm getting to the first one.
Oh, okay.
So Batman shows up with his tank. The Bat Tank, which I'm sure came out of the left field the first time you saw this in the 80s.
It's almost comical because there's a scene in there where it almost looks like the tank is like craning its neck down.
The cannon bends.
Yeah, so it's almost fantastical at how comically large it is. And it has these huge guns and he's firing them like crazy. You're like, whoa, he's crazy. It turns out they're rubber bullets.
Yeah, he's like, they're rubber bullets, I swear.
Wink.
Yeah, so he's just blasting the shit out of this gang that's convened. Garbage heap. The mutant's there, and Batman realizes, I have to take this guy down.
Right.
The leader, once I take the leader down, everyone else will just disband or I'll be able to control them.
But take him down like hand to hand.
Yeah, not just shoot him. He's tempted just to shoot him and put the cannon and blast him into oblivion, but he gets out of the tank, the Batmobile, and proceeds to fight. And he realizes, I'm too old to fight this guy. He's too fast. I'm not keeping up with him. I'm not strong enough. Gets the shit kicked out of him. Gets bit in a couple of different places, and then Carrie shows up at the last minute. He's about to get his head bashed in the crowbar, and shows up at the last minute, saves him, gets him back into the Batmobile, which you come to find out it's basically like a little hospital in there. Yeah,
Alfred's ready to go.
Yeah.
It's a
which is amazing that Alfred's alive, to be honest.
Because he'd be like 90 years old.
Maybe even older, because he's older than Batman, and Batman's old as shit.
Yeah, no, that's me. Like
Batman's
55.
55, so I mean, he could be 80.
Yeah.
Well, I like that scene too because it really established, Robin has been a sidekick up until this point for the last, 45 years in the comics, and Carrie is the Robin character in this book is in that fight. I mean, she's a distraction. And she is a diversion, and you can kind of see the point of having a Robin, even just
like
to
tactically.
Like this is so dumb, but like I was watching my son playing the new God of War PS4 game last night, and he's bringing his son around with him, and it's at this point in the game that my son's playing. I mean, he's got a little arrow, can do a few things, so you could use your son as a distraction when you're fighting some guy so that the two of you could really team on this. And before that, it just seemed like they were always punching people down side by side, kind of not really using the strengths of each other to get things done.
I would argue that Batman wears a dark costume and he has his sidekick wear a super bright costume.
Yeah.
With the yellow-sided cape, the side that faces the bad
I would say he's kind of using Robin as a target.
It's interesting, too, because in book one,
I've never thought of that.
There's that scene where he emerges in costume for the first time, and you see the yellow insignia, the bat emblem, and it gets shot and blasted apart a little later, and it's full of armor padding on it. But it's just like, no, that's what I want you to aim at.
Right.
Like, don't shoot my face. Shoot this yellow glaring symbol to.
So don't shoot me. Shoot the kid. That's right.
Yeah. Kid, this is what I just trust me. I need you to run over there.
Yeah.
Throw something at the. I know. Just listen. Just run over there. Throw something at him, and then everything will be okay. Just trust me.
And then run.
Yeah. Then run.
Right.
Run.
I need you to scale the wall real quick.
Yeah.
And you come to find out she's 14, 14 years old, and has had acrobatic training apparently.
Of course, yeah.
But so Batman goes back to the Batcave. Alfred's there. They dress his wounds. Alfred kind of seems to talk, trying to subtly, almost passive aggressively, like, you need to stop this.
Yeah, Alfred's a great character in this series.
Yeah,
very, very under, like you said, passive aggressive towards him.
Yeah, and he's got very kind of like snide, subtle humor about trying to fuck with Bruce Wayne about what the fuck are you doing, man? Come on, you're too old to.
Yeah,
this is a young man's game. Basically, Batman's recovers very quickly and it's like, okay, let me get a little confused here. The mutant leader's arrested, taken back to the prison. This is where the mayor wants to meet him and say, the mayor wants to meet the mutant gang leader and kind of work out some terms. Mutant leader.
He's got that much power that he's willing to cut a deal with him. Yeah.
And the mutant leader winds up killing the mayor, biting his neck, or chews out his esophagus, basically.
Sure.
And Jim Gordon and Bruce Wayne basically have a conversation, and Bruce says, I need to face him one-on-one. Release him. So they kind of walk him down to a little area where there's a sewer, and he gets away and comes out into the garbage land again, and there's Bruce Wayne waiting for him.
With his gang member.
Batman, yeah. With the whole entire gang,
yeah.
And
Batman's still got some pull to get a big criminal who just killed a mayor released from prison.
And and Batman internally is thinking, I played his game last time. Now we're going to play my game, which is strategic fighting. And Batman immediately hits him in the forehead, makes his forehead bleed so he can't see. Then he starts taking out, basically like a boxer. He starts just strategically hurting his arms so they can't move. He's punching like nerve clusters and just
it's not blind rage. It's very like you said, strategic.
Yeah,
the mutant leader gets some punches in, but sorry.
Oh no, I just agreeing with you there. I mean, there's just like you said, there's when he a quick one to the nerve cluster in his deltoid. It doesn't hurt him, but no force on earth will help him move his left arm now. Just he's thinking that way. Such precision and decades of skill
of fighting, and slowly breaks the guy down, and then tells the gang, like, you guys are done. This is it. You're done. I've beaten your leader. Get out of here. Which the gang eventually becomes the Sons of Batman.
Well, they fracture.
Yeah. I mean, there's still some of the gangs together, but
and that has one of my favorite scenes in the book. I mean, he's decimating this guy in the mud, and that great line about this isn't a mud hole, it's an operating table, and I'm the surgeon. And then you just hear this loud crack, and he says, "Something tells me to stop with the leg. I don't listen to it."
That
oh damn! He's just like basically an off page. You just realize he's like. Psh!
That line
in front of everything
and scene, I think, are a companion piece to in The Watchmen, where Rorschach's in the jail, and he after he throws oil on that guy's face, he's like, "You got it wrong. You're not trapped in. I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me."
Exactly.
Like, just one of those cool lines where you're like, "Oh, I'll never be that tough."
Have you seen any of the Batman '66 cartoons? The dynamic.
I watched the Two-Face one recently.
There's the first one. With Joker, Penguin, Catwoman in it. But there's the Adam West voiced Batman starts having like a mental issues or something, and there's one point where he's fighting somebody, like it's the corny 60s type villains, but he's using that Miller dialogue of like, this is an operating table and I'm the surgeon, and then like looking at him like he's this crazy sick bastard for even saying this stuff out loud. Like, what are you? This innocent '60s Batman saying that.
They got the I haven't read this book in a really long time.
Right.
And I watched that Two-Face one because it's on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
And
with Shatner as Two-Face.
Yeah, with Shatner as Two-Face. So I watched that, and then I read this a couple days later. I was like, oh, they completely lifted the Two-Face thing where they fixed his face,
Right.
but he's still really Two-Face.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, they lifted that whole thing. But so that's book 2. And we're kind of glossing over things.
Yeah.
It's a dense book.
Skipping to the end here, but we definitely recommend this book. It's very, like Dennis just said, it's very dense. There's a lot of stuff going on. We don't want to talk about everything because we want you to read it.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And I remember how dense, I mean, it just seemed like books then, when I was a teenager when this came out, and The Watchmen as well, and it just seemed like I could read both of those books through the years, and each time, like, oh, I didn't even realize that was in there. It would feel like there was just new stuff revealing itself that I glossed over the first time.
The Rorschach reveal, at the spoiler for The Watchmen, Rorschach shows up a lot earlier than you think. It took me 4 or 5 readings before I was like, what the fuck? That's him. Oh my God. He was there all along. Like, that was, I read it several times before I made that realization. Yeah. It's almost like in Friday when you realize Craig's girl is sleeping with Debo, and you don't it's very subtly shown. It's like that kind of thing. I like to drop in little Friday references.
He gets a little bit of a residual on that.
Yeah. Though, you know what's interesting?
Him and Ice Cube are
just
like
Friday, not Friday 2 or 3.
Right.
As you start to see with this book compared to Watchmen, which came out the same year, so that's a fair comparison, but the art is wonderful. The characters are amazing. It's atmospheric, and it looks and feels like nothing else. But really, the story is kind of Batman comes back and has a showdown, and it's really not that deep of a story or journey for him. Then it's a beautiful fight scene in a lot of ways. It's kind of funny, but yeah, there's just so much in it. It's
I would say it's not super deep, but given the stage of life he's in, it's something we usually don't get, like we've talked about in the beginning. You're looking at an end of career Batman,
so almost middle-age crisis at the beginning, where he's like, what the fuck do I do with my life?
And I mean, they kind of it's interesting because they later use this. They've harvested this story for so many things, but they later use this for the cartoon Batman Beyond. So it's an older Batman, who's incapable of now being Batman. So what does he do?
That's Frank Miller's Batman, Bruce Wayne, right there in Batman Beyond,
and even older Batman in that.
Yeah. Right, but I mean, just the appearance and even the gruffness of it is very, very Frank Miller.
So his solution is basically, I'm going to have someone be my arms and legs, essentially. I'm still in control because I'm going to be. He doesn't let him be Batman independently. He's still,
and it's a minor.
Right, exactly.
I'm gonna put a minor.
Classic Batman move.
I'll put a minor in
danger.
Way.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotta get him. He's a groomer.
So, and then book 3 is The Hunt for the Dark Knight, which is the rebirth almost, which I feel like they lifted for the Batman Beyond movie, where the Joker comes back after years of not being around, or having actually, spoiler, died in the Dark Knight or Batman Beyond. So, as Robert had said, the Joker had been comatose for
just sort of catatonic. I mean, he's awake, but he's just zombied out. He's got no purpose. And with Batman returning, it's sort of like the motion detector got turned on in his brain. He's like, I'm back. Because that was one of the first. You complete me. You're the reason I exist, kind of a thing, and that got explored infinitely, even in the Batman Lego movie,
and Tim Robbins' Batman movie with
Burton
or Tim Burton.
Tim Robbins was really bad. Susan Sarandon was Catwoman.
It's when they were when Batman went to the minor league baseball team.
He's got to escape jail.
That's how he became Batman. It was because he was the Bat Boy. In Bull Durham.
Bob Roberts was going to be his version, or the player. I'm sorry, the player was going to be his Batman movie when they're like, no, he just turned it into that.
Tim
Right,
Robbins'
exactly.
Batman just uses all of Wayne's money to create some social programs and not really fight crime. But no, I mean, like the Joker's like, oh, now I've got a reason to live. Batman's back, and he comes,
Batman is the Joker's killing Viagra.
Yeah,
Right.
and yeah, I mean, it's amazing. This is a really good, cold, calculated, not insane necessary version of the Joker that you haven't seen before yet. Like he was the clown prince of crime, and there was some the Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil stuff with the Joker was kind of cool. You started to see the sadistic side of him a little bit, but this seems like a very controlled, shrewd, calculating Joker that you've not seen before.
The one purpose to I'm gonna go basically fuck with Batman.
Yeah.
Right.
And how can I do that? By going to this fair and
first he's on the David Endicott show, right? Oh, to the Ferris. No. First he gets on the first he convinces his therapist, Dr. Wolper, who's this celebrity type therapist.
Real touchy feely.
Yeah, and he's just a man. He's just a and he gets an appearance on the David Endicott show, which is a thinly veiled David Letterman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even the sidekick's Paul.
Yeah.
I would say not very thinly veiled at all.
Basically, the Don't Sue Us renamed version of David Letterman.
He did a pretty good job of Frank Miller of doing David Letterman written.
Oh, yeah. No,
he did an excellent job
for sure.
And then it culminates with him gassing everybody in the audience and killing them.
That's
so
right.
he commits
and kills a Dr. Ruth
type.
Yes.
Sex therapist type person.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, remember me, Batman? I just killed 300 people now.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And then
the fair.
Yeah, and then he's got some sort of nerve agent that allows him to implant instructions for people, or mind control, basically. So he has a woman, one of Selena Kyle's, who you're introduced to, is now a madam.
Right.
She's
Yeah, you first see Catwoman, only see her in this series as a prostitute
washed up
who's dressed up as Wonder Woman and had the shit beat out of her. It looks like, right? She weighs about 240.
Yeah, she's heavier. But I think Joker forced her to dress like that.
Right, but I mean, it's just your first glimpse at her is just seeing her, this saggy old alcoholic, beat up Wonder Woman hooker.
And Joker basically, he's got this lipstick that can kill almost. Yeah, I think Tim Burton's Batman lifted that with the poison
3 years later.
Yeah, but so because Joker must know that Batman and Catwoman have a history or a romantic history.
Hit him where it hurts.
Yeah, so he sends this woman over with this poison lipstick to try and kill Selena, but it doesn't happen.
Right.
And then the Joker decides, okay, I'm going to go to this fair and just kill everybody there.
Right.
Yeah.
And randomly shoots people.
Yeah. He's got some gang members with him. And the thing that I was like, who the fuck are these two things? Are these dolls that can fly?
Yeah.
And it's semi-sentient too.
Yeah. I was like,
and that fat boy.
The Toy Master did.
Yeah,
it's
not really clear. I think that was a fun little weird out of nowhere thing he just introduced.
Because they have their own personalities, but then they self-destruct
and can fly. At one point he's sitting on their back. I was like, where the fuck did these dolls come from? So there's no prior to this that you guys know of, no history of these dolls.
It's just some weird shit that just appeared. I mean,
that's one of the few flaws in the book. Are those two? It's that Deus Ex thing
Mafia.
There. Yeah.
Right.
Or I don't even know if that fits because they didn't save the day or anything, but they're just weird things he dropped in. Mm-hmm. And then the other critique I have about the book is the constant, I'm too old for this shit.
Right.
My bones.
Yeah, so Batman seems to almost have the thought of I'm killing the Joker. This can't happen anymore. So he starts chasing down the Joker. Carrie is up on, or the Robin is up on a roller coaster, being
Fighting one of the henchmen.
shot at.
Yeah.
And she's just got a slingshot.
Yeah.
Um,
Can I have a gun?
yeah, she's trying to get the other doll.
She really doesn't have like a utility belt. Like,
Yeah, I know. She's got a slingshot and then just left up to her own device of like crawling around on a speeding roller coaster.
yeah.
Batman should be arrested for that.
No.
Yeah, just letting a kid crawl on a roller coaster is dangerous
Well, here's the thing.
enough,
You have
know?
a bat tank, but you're not going to arm your new Robin with any cool gear.
Yeah.
Why the hell does she only have a
I
slingshot?
don't give her like a gas gun or something.
Something,
at least,
something
or-
like the noisy cricket for Will
yeah.
Smith, and
Yeah.
There you
you
go.
know, just like here, this is a be careful with it, but it'll fuck up anything that's
here's
coming
right.
Here's
towards
a
you.
giant penny you can
Yeah.
throw at someone.
Yeah.
On a catapult. Yeah.
No, sorry, you can't have anything. Here's a
Yeah.
slingshot. Kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, you brought your own slingshot. Good, because I was not going to give you anything. We should also say at this point too in book 3, the new commissioner's come aboard. She's
Right.
a woman commissioner.
She's hot.
There's a lot of like, I can't believe they made a woman commissioner. I don't know. You can just tell this was from a different
Mhm.
era.
Yeah.
But it's a big deal that they made a woman a commissioner, and her thing is, I'm getting Batman. Above all
Yeah.
else, I am stopping Batman. Which it's never made kind of. I don't feel they never really made it clear why the turn. Why are they deciding to?
Why he's a criminal?
Yeah,
Mhm.
at this point, is it because he's hurting too many people and the criminals are getting away.
Well, it's vigilanteism
Yeah.
still. I mean, to the letter of the law, Batman shouldn't be doing what
Or
he's
they're just
doing.
starting a new
Yeah.
era of like, no, police are who you should be listening
Yeah,
to,
right.
not Batman.
Sure.
So now that everyone knows that the Batman and Joker are at the scene, there's a SWAT team,
Oh, yeah.
helicopters showing up, and so Batman winds up chasing, fittingly, the Joker into the Tunnel of Love
Mhm.
after he's killed numerous
Oh,
people,
Yeah.
and well, they fight. They go into the Tunnel of Love, but they're also like in a tunnel of mirrors too at some point.
Yeah.
The House
Hall
of
of mirrors. Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the
that's-
way in there's that great bit where he's behind the Joker, right?
Mhm.
And there's a kid that's in his way, Batman's way, and Batman's already taken some blows at this point. He's wounded,
Mhm.
and the kid says, "Kick his ass."
Well, he almost doesn't he like want to say kick his ass, but he doesn't say ass.
Yeah, right before he says ass.
Right, but it's essentially
Yeah,
again, he's like, "Watch your language."
Yeah.
Which
Like,
is
he-
weird.
Takes his time, like
Yeah.
which is kind of a fun, corny thing. I mean, you almost see that got co-opted by Captain America in the
Right.
Marvel movies,
Right.
where he
Exactly.
doesn't like the swearing, but it's just
Yeah.
cool that like he doesn't want this kid. I don't want a kid to become corrupted unless he wants to be my sidekick.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
I'll
Just don't
fuck
cuss.
up his life forever.
Or
Yeah.
Fire.
Are you good at acrobats? No. All right. Get lost, kid.
Yeah, get out yeah, it starts out the outside of the fair, then they're like chasing each other, winds up in the Hall of Mirrors, then the Tunnel of Love. While they're in the Hall of Mirrors, they both get injured pretty badly. Joker shoots the Batman through like his side,
Yeah.
through the side of the stomach, and Batman throws a battering into one of his eyes.
Oh, a gruesome scene.
Yeah,
too. I
and
remember
so-
reading that. Like, oh, geez.
Joker's just running through the fair trying to escape with this battering hanging out of his face. They wind up going to the Tunnel of Love. Joker's run out of bullets, so he's just got this like tiny little sharp knife, and he just starts stabbing the shit out of Batman in the stomach
Yeah.
while they're fighting. And then Batman breaks his neck, but not enough to kill him, just to paralyze him. And at this point, they're both cornered.
Oh God. Yeah. This is a horrible scene.
And Joker was like, well, I'm going to pin this on you. They're going to know that Batman's a killer now, and breaks his own neck. He just keeps turning while he's laughing.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I remember reading that, and it's like, wow. I mean, the Joker being able to laugh.
And that's when the classic kind of Joker comes out, right? He's been cool as ice
Yeah,
up until this point.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
maniacal ha 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 ha.
Yeah, yeah.
that
And
trails
just
him.
laughing as he twists his already broken neck and spine to just kill himself. I mean, just
Right.
the thought: how could you do that to yourself? The level of effort and overcoming that much pain to be able to snap your own spine.
Right.
Well, and
And
well, it's like Batman thought he had him checkmated.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
right.
And
oh,
then
I,
he, like,
I broke his
fuck,
neck.
no.
Like you're still alive, but I don't now. No, now you're gonna be nobody's problem.
Yeah.
And the Joker's like, oh, well, I got one more play in me.
Right.
I'm gonna break my own neck and pin that on you. So this is the end of book 3, and then book 4 starts. The Dark Knight Falls, with the cops think they have Batman. They've got him cornered in this thing. Batman, being the tactician that he is, he puts some plastic explosives in one area, and I love the line where he's like, "Oh, the SWAT team, they're wearing armor. I don't have to be gentle with them."
Yeah.
And just starts beating the shit out of all these guys.
Right.
Explodes the building, and then calls in his, which I was expecting a bat helicopter. This thing's just like a Russian combat helicopter.
Yeah.
Comes in, gets Carrie. She jumps onto the tire from the top of the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Lassos Batman, which apparently she has lasso training, and gets them both the hell out of there. Which at this point is kind of funny. The commissioner's like, "Oh, that's a little kid. Okay, we're charging him with child endangerment too, on top of everything else."
Rightfully so.
Yes.
About time.
At least with the past Robins, they got to live in his mansion. Like, she's just got to go back to her shithole home and existence.
I know. Go back to meth parents.
Yeah.
Thanks for your troubles.
So at this point, you see Reagan. Reagan shows up a lot in this book.
Yeah. He's the president still.
Yeah, at this time. And he's
somewhat... It's like a Max Headroom kind of thing.
Yeah, but you could see how he got the cowboy, term applied to him, because he's sitting there talking about his ranch.
Folksy stuff.
Yeah, folksy stuff. And you're like, dude, you're a fucking Hollywood star. You're not like...
Still more reasonable than what we have now.
Oh, that's true. That's true. And you've gotten hints that maybe Superman is involved in this somehow. Well, in this book, it's basically Superman is told by the president, you need to rein in Batman. We're not having this shit happen anymore. And I thought there was some really cool showing of like, oh, it's not my problem, it's their problem. Oh, it's not my problem, it's their problem. Where the press is asking the president about the Batman issue and what's going on in Gotham, and he's like, that's not my thing, that's the governor's problem. Right. And then they talk to the governor, like, I'm just governing the state. That's a mayoral issue with the city. And then the mayor's like, that's not my problem, it's the commissioner's issue. And just that bureaucracy and politician just passing the buck down.
Right. And what you see in this book, Superman you're introduced to, and, he's a tool of the government, basically. At this point, an extension of the army. And he stops, there's a Russian missile that he diverts and gets it to explode in a desert.
Right, a nuclear missile.
Yeah, and he is weakened. Like this really creepy scene where he's like this shriveled sort of like skeleton-looking thing, and it sets the stage for him being a little bit weaker than his full power. But there's an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, that knocks out electricity all over the country, and Batman at this point has mobilized the gang from the mutants to be helping the city out.
The Sons of Batman,
the Sons of Batman, and they're making sure supplies get to people. They're keeping control of the looting and stuff.
Prior to this, like, they do some horrible things. The Sons of Batman, right? And then that's when he's like, we're not doing that. Yeah, that's not our
no guns, no nothing. Yeah. But basically Gotham City, which should be the shithole of the country, is one of the few places that's functioning post this electromagnetic pulse because of the way Batman's taking care of business. Yeah. And that draws the ire of the president. Like, he's telling Superman, you got to bring him in.
Yeah. And you get the impression that, what's the, like in The Incredibles, there's some things been passed where being a vigilante or superhero has been outlawed.
Right. Yeah, and you learn about Green Arrow. Right.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to be a superhero anymore. Right. Yeah, Superman was the only one
that was sanctioned and allowed. Yeah. Wonder Woman went back to her island. Yeah. Hal Jordan or whoever was the Green Lantern at that time went out into space. And Oliver Queen went into hiding.
Mm-hmm. But he didn't. As you learn, Superman took his arm off.
Yeah.
Right.
Sadistic bastard. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't shoot an arrow anymore. I just took your arm off.
Yeah. But Oliver gets his comeuppance.
Sure, but like
So-
it just shows you to the degree that Superman has become a tool of the government.
Yeah,
he would have
right.
never hurt a fellow hero like that.
Yeah. And then there's all this on a larger scale, on a global scale. There's it seems like a world war is about to start.
Pretty much
Yeah.
Over
Russia.
Corto Maltese, right?
Mhm.
Which was dropped in the first Batman movie.
Yeah, a fictional place.
Yeah, fictional place. Which is actually it's a comic book series in Italy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's an Italian comic book
After
series.
the Dark
It's
Knight
been
was
around
done?
forever.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like one of those European comic books that's like what's the one with the kid and his dog?
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking
Tintin.
Tintin.
Oh wow.
It's one of those that's like been around for a really long
Huh,
time, but it's
that's right.
it's kind of a violent book.
It's crazy how DC primarily would never use real locations for controversial things like that. Like, what would it have hurt if it was
Right.
Cuba or Puerto Rico or whatever it
Yeah.
was supposed to be? Like in that Death in the Family series,
Mhm.
I remember the Joker was hooked up with some Middle Eastern terrorists from a country called Qurak.
about.
Qura. Like, really?
It's almost like stupid.
Like is
puns.
some
Right.
Iranian terrorist or Iraqi terrorist going to read this comic book and we'll show you guys for making us look bad.
Oh, wait,
except
it's
Russia. Russia's always the one that you can
Russia's cool, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Kuwainis. Never mind. That's not
Yeah.
it.
And we'll mess with Germany still.
Yeah, I always wonder why Marvel, like, why didn't DC also use real world? Because like Chicago's mentioned in this, and even in Batman Year One, Jim Gordon is transferring from
Mhm.
Chicago to.
But they did, like, even Marvel, like, they had like the Maggia. Marvel had it was an organized crime thing called the Maggia.
Right.
So they didn't have to say Mafia, as if because like real Mafia dudes were gonna get pissed and
we'll
take
go-
out Jack Kirby or something like that. Like, I don't know.
We got to rub out this Stan Lee and
Yeah.
Jack Kirby. Who are those guys? These two comic book fucks. But talking about the Maggia.
Yeah.
Wait.
Exactly.
No, the Maggia, not the Mafia. We're good.
Yeah.
Take that hit off of them.
It's the Gambino crime
Right.
family. What are you not Gambino? We're not making fun of you guys. Yeah.
So
Corto Maltese, Superman, all that. We're setting the stage for the big showdown.
and he
here.
subtly basically breaks the Russian fleet. Like he's going into the ground and punching the earth and making these huge swells topple their ships and just making it impossible for
He's
them.
killing thousands of people at
Yeah.
this point. Superman. He's
Soldiers. Killing
he could have used heat vision to just kill the motors in their boat, but no.
Because
Let's
President
just drown them all.
Reagan wanted to send a picture. Or,
Right.
Yeah, send a message.
Message, I mean, yeah. So Superman, this I thought was really cool. Was he just like, Batman's aware that Superman is watching him now.
Right.
And then Superman from way up high burns into the ground with his laser vision. Where?
Yeah.
But does it? I may have skipped over something. Doesn't Superman talk to him? To
Yes.
Bruce Wayne?
Yeah, like,
There's- they have conversations beforehand.
Yeah.
You got to stop this, Bruce. You know
Yeah.
I can't.
Well, you
do
don't even
that,
see
Clark,
him.
right?
Like you just hear his voice, and you see a blue flash.
Yeah.
But it's heavily implied that basically it's.
But he's
Superman.
trying to warn him, like, I don't want
Right.
to do this.
Yeah.
And then Batman's like, oh, that's cool. We can do this. And he calls in Oliver Queen to
Mhm.
be at a certain point at a certain time to help him out. And then Batman and Superman have this, what prior to this book had never been done, is a fight.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, prior to this, there'd be no point in them fighting, because natural Batman versus natural Superman hand-to-hand combat made no sense. But you see, he's ready. He's preparing.
He's got a power suit.
The power suit. He meets him in Crime Alley, where his
Right.
parents were killed. So he wants to fight him in someplace symbolic. He's got this power suit, which is kind of like one of Iron Man's first armors.
Right. Exactly.
It's plugged into a light post so he can power the thing.
On the city's dime.
Yeah.
Which he makes a point of saying.
He's basically a criminal at this point, stealing
Right.
power. And
You're probably stealing cable through it too.
Yeah. He downloaded the latest ColecoVision game.
Yeah.
But then, and then, there's some great conversation and the fight commences. And you see like like you said, a much shittier version of this in the Batman Superman movie. And then, you just, some great dialogue as they fight. I mean,
but I don't think, I feel like as brutal as Superman has become, it doesn't seem like he's that brutal to Batman.
Well, he's holding back. Like,
Yeah.
one of his moves is he rips his helmet off.
Right.
It's like, come on, Bruce. I can stop
I can hear
it.
your heart.
Yeah.
I know your heart's stressed. Stop
Right.
this fight. But Batman is like, he's holding his own.
Right.
He splashes an acid in his eyes, so it's harder for him to see. He's got this powered up suit. Gets a couple blows in.
Superman's holding his punches back. I mean, there's a point he's like, Bruce, I just broke 3 of your ribs. Stop it. It's
right.
I could technically punch you into the sun right now, if it comes to it. And then
then Oliver Queen shows up with his missing arm.
Yeah.
He doesn't have it with him, but he's got
using
a
his
missing arm.
teeth in his arm.
Yeah, the one good arm in his teeth, and he shoots a
Kryptonite arrow.
which Batman says, or Bruce Wayne Batman says, but he says, I synthesized that element, and it cost a lot of money and a lot of time. Luckily, I have both of those things.
Yeah.
And then at this point, he beats the shit out of Superman.
Right.
And chokes him, right? And he's like, I just want you to know that
There's me.
Yeah, a human being had their hand around your neck,
Right.
and could have ended this and didn't.
And then that great scene, like right after he's shot, and he tells him this, despite Superman getting that screwed up, he takes the time to just notice, Bruce, your heart.
Yeah.
Like he can hear, and you don't know at this point, but Bruce is,
About to die.
his heart's, you're getting the idea, Clark. This is the end for both of us, and then that great line on the next page. It's a picture of Bruce kicking Clark in the chin. The chin's got blood flying off of it. Spiked boot.
Yeah.
Right.
I want you to remember, Clark, in all the years to come, in your worst private moments, I want you to remember my hand at your throat. I want you to remember the one man who beat you.
Yep.
Right.
And then you see a graphic of Bruce's heart, and then he's laying down while bloodied, screwed up Superman's cradling him at this point.
Yeah, so Batman dies, Bruce Wayne dies. At the same time, Alfred is burning down everything. He's got the Bat computer basically running a program to delete all of its files. Yeah, self-destructing.
All the money's moved.
Yeah, mysteriously, all of money has vanished from all of his accounts.
Alfred then passes away.
Yeah, Alfred dies.
Has a stroke in the snow.
Yeah.
Just that last shot of Alfred just laying in the snow after he burned down.
Yeah, on his side with it.
Yeah.
And I'm curious,
He must have not known.
but did Batman give him something to die?
Yeah, I don't know. I
think he's dead.
No. I
Naturally,
mean,
right?
well, the thing is that he died because he was sad, right? That like this is
Or
it.
his mission was complete. Like,
But then I wonder if Bruce Wayne ever told him, guess what?
yeah,
I wasn't really dead.
maybe he couldn't. Maybe he had to play that close to the vest where.
Yeah, I think Batman had to be dead. Bruce has to be dead, and Alfred is, in Alfred's mind, he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Wayne line is finished.
He's done
Right.
his job. Mission accomplished. For now that I've done this and burned the place down, it's kind of like your lifelong partner's just gone. And
I was about to make that
Right.
analogy of, someone passes away shortly after their spouse passes away.
Which kind of sucks because he didn't really pass away. So
Yeah, come to find out, Batman
took some kind of chemical.
took a chemical that prevented him from. It slowed his heartbeat down. At the funeral, Superman, as Clark Kent, hears this, and he's like, "Oh, you always were good with chemicals, Bruce."
Right, and then he just kind of gives a wink and then moves on.
Yeah, and then you see Batman convening with the sons of Batman, saying, "This is basically we're starting. You guys are gonna follow me, and
Right.
we're gonna do this."
They're in the
right."
Batcave still, underground, and they're basically going to organize, train. It's going to be a few years, but he's basically making successors for himself.
Yeah. So, and that's how the book ends.
Yeah, and Green Arrow's still there too.
Oh yeah, Oliver
At the
Queen's
end,
there.
yeah.
And he's got
in the
long
back,
hair. He's bald. He
Right.
kind of looks like Crosby from Crosby, Stills and Nash as an old man.
Yeah. So as this series ends, I mean, it revitalizes Batman, makes him kind of one of the hottest characters in comics again, and and Miller takes another pass at him with Batman Year One, and that was fun, and from that point forward, Batman's changed for decades.
Right.
Still to this day.
Yeah.
Right.
But what's like we talked earlier, I mean, the end of this is like, okay, we've got more to do. Clearly there's more to happen, but it was nice not ever having to see it happen necessarily.
I think there's value in not always doing a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's interesting, and I don't know that Dark Knight 2 and 3 deserve their own episodes, but just as a footnote, and apparently there's a fourth one that he's even has in mind, but
I've heard it's a prequel.
yeah,
That's called regular Batman.
the beginning of the second one, the first issue's actually not that bad. It sort of picks off where we left off. Superman gets involved again because he's still crossing the line, and they have this beautiful coordinated attack on Superman in that series where he's got the Atom jumping around inside of Superman's ear to disorient them and more kryptonite stuff, and then Batman truly just legitimately beating the fuck out of Superman, and I think that issue ends with "Get out of my house" as he kicks him out of the Batcave and throws him into a heap.
Yeah.
And then from that point forward, the book's fairly worthless.
Yeah.
I don't even understand what the head of the Joker is talking, and there's a robot thing. It just seemed like he was high on drugs.
And the
when he wrote this thing.
animation, the illustrations in that, it looks like he just started using maybe Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, and
Yeah.
there's just horrible gradients put in.
Yeah.
You could tell it was done digitally. It just isn't. It's an inferior book, and I haven't read the third one.
Now the third one he writes, but he doesn't do the art for, or
Right.
just some layout. But they have forgot who did the art.
But
Azzarello,
it's done in the style of like the
yeah,
first
which
one.
is nice. So I mean, because his skills have. He's an old guy. He's apparently got some illnesses and some afflictions that are keeping him from being at his artistic.
Oh yeah, you
peak.
see him nowadays. He looks like
Yeah.
he's on.
He doesn't. He looks older than he is. I mean, he looks like he's
Right.
80-ish now. but-
Yeah, he looks like he's got some major health issues going on.
yeah.
And maybe some mental health issues. 'Cause
Yeah, for sure.
That guy has gone off the deep end.
Well, he's
on-
also responsible for Holy Terror Batman, or Holy Terror,
yeah,
which was
supposed to
be a Batman.
Batman versus ISIS, basically.
Yeah,
right?
it was going to be in this. It was going to be part of this Dark Knight series,
Oh.
and then you, Dennis, we were talking about this a different day that DC was like, no,
Right.
we're not doing this. This
No,
is going to be part of the Batman series.
I think, it's hard to be an artist that feels things politically, especially if you're conservative. And, he had written even some non-comic book things about liberals and things like that really kind of burned a lot of bridges with some of his more liberal fans. And I think recently he made some statement kind of walking that back. Like, I don't really believe some of that stuff anymore. So I don't know. I mean, he grew up in a Reagan time as an artist and writer and creator. And
Which is weird because his views were so anti-Reagan,
Right.
Back then. It's,
Right.
I don't know, it's just this weird how he shifted to such like a harsh view on humanity and the world.
yeah,
Too
I
much
don't
Sin
know.
City.
I mean, I like the Sin City stuff a lot. And, he's given us, I mean, from his Daredevil work to the Batman stuff he's done, and, 300 even for what it was kind of fun. And,
But you can't
yeah.
constantly put out. I mean, it's just there's a certain point, unfortunately, where maybe some of your creative juices are kind of.
Oh,
all-
for sure. For
Right.
sure.
I mean, there's just some people who you should just quit.
or
I
maybe
mean,
you don't quit,
I
but like
know.
so maybe you built up so much prestige that publishers are like, oh, well, if Frank Miller wants to do it, we better fucking do it because he's going to make another Dark Knight Returns. And then you read it and you're like, oh, this is not.
When you bring up a good point, sometimes there's so much prestige that unlike the old days, the editors don't have as much sway that they used to.
Yeah, that's true.
And so you can't tell me I'm Frank Miller. Whereas in the old days, it was like, Frank, you got to cut this back. You got to do this.
Right. Well, and if you look at the all-time greats of comics, I mean, they all have their share of garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, Neil Adams did some horrible comics with that company that he started, and Kirby has had more than his share of goofy.
Oh, look at
Ditko and just some of these.
Yeah.
You know,
any artistic endeavor is going to have. Nobody bats 1,000. Like, look at the Stones. I would say they haven't put out a good album in decades.
Right. But I mean, really, with Miller, I'd say the second Dark Knight series is really, and the Holy Terror thing are like kind of the things that, I mean, for example, like Hard Boiled, which he just wrote with Jeff Darrow. I don't know if you remember that. Was fantastic. And the Give Me Liberty series that he did with the guy that did the art for The Watchmen.
Right.
You know, the Martha Washington Goes to War and those things he does for Dark Horse. And I mean, he's got a high quality body of work that's 80% pretty damn good. You know, it's I think we didn't need sequels to The Dark Knight, I think is really what it came down to. It was a beautiful, nearly perfect book for what it was.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
it's been diluted with each. The magic of it has been diluted each time he's gone to the well for the Dark Knight.
Right, exactly.
But to DC's credit, unlike some of the other things, I mean, at least they've not touched that version of Batman much without letting Frank Miller being a part of it. You know, I mean,
he's always been involved, unless
Right.
unless it's been some weird universe thing where they happen to drop by it and you see the characters.
Right.
But aside from that, there's never been like a comic that's set in that universe without Frank Miller's.
Right. Like with the Watchmen stuff being done without Alan Moore, I mean, I get the controversy of that. I mean, I'm happy they're doing some of that stuff too, because those characters are wonderful. And DC owns them. I mean, they've got the rights to make more Watchmen stuff, but you know, it is weird seeing them. Alan Moore doesn't want it done, and they just do it without him. You know, but maybe if Frank Miller after this had said, "No, I'm never." I mean, they could have done more Dark Knight stuff, but I think it's Frank Miller's Batman. Is really, I mean, if they try to continue it without him with different artists, it just wouldn't be. It wouldn't be the same thing.
Right.
I mean, it's that writer and artist take on him. Looks and feels a certain way, and unless you just hired somebody to ape his artwork, I don't know why you would even try.
Right, for sure.
Well, I think we all highly recommend the book, and the artwork's amazing.
And can I also say that the movie we were talking about, there's a 2-part animated movie adaptation of it, which is pretty much the only way they could truly make this thing. But it's fairly faithful and pretty decent. I mean, it's almost like having the comic book just read to you. It doesn't take a lot of liberties.
With RoboCop's voice.
Yeah, Peter Weller.
Peter Weller. He did a great job as Batman.
Yeah, but it's not bad, and it looks and feels like you're watching the comic book come to life.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. That's one of the few ones I haven't checked out.
You know my opinion about DC.
Yeah. I get
it. Well, Robert, where can people follow you?
They can I have a website, retrocrush.com, and there's links to shows I'm doing and my book and things like that people could check out there. Got a joke book there, and on Twitter I'm at retrocrush, and that should be enough. You have other things you should do with your life besides.
And I don't think you would take this as an insult. You're one of the best.
You're so fucking ugly.
You're like one of the best, like, grown humor comics.
Oh yeah,
ever.
Thank you.
If you get a chance to see Robert Barry, see him. You will laugh as much as you're like, oh my God, come on. You're the master at that. I fucking love it.
Thank you.
And then Dennis, where can people follow?
Usual Twitter, Instagram at GN Explorers Club.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with another summer special episode.
Thanks.